I'm not talking about me. I only make high quality videos. I've been big into ROM hacks of late. They allow me to escape the drudgery of the modern gaming market and relapse into a happier time when JRPGs were good and we were still allowed to have fun. While my insulated boomer zone is nice, having new experiences is always a treat, so using ROM hacks as an escape to combine the comfort of my most beloved titles with a fresh coat of paint is about as good as it gets. I thought I'd shill a few that I'd enjoyed recently in the hopes that maybe you too could inflate my ego with unchallenged agreement. Oh, I love it when you do that. Now, before we start, all the links to these ROM hacks will be in the description. Let's get into it. There's not much to this hack. The largest selling point is that it cleans up the script quite a bit. It's not retranslated, but it's far closer to being proper English than ever before. I'm just happy to play the original Breath of Fire and understand what characters are saying and, what items do. It's not a huge recommend, but if you've got an itch to replay the original, this is the best way to scratch that. Also, there's a run button, and Khan got re-vitiligo. He's back in black, so to speak. You gotta love how brave the Japanese are, hey? Just the greatest thief in the Breath of Fire universe, and also the only black character. Demon's Crest is a great game, but it could be greater, which is what this ROM hack achieves. The best part is that it reduces slowdown significantly. It's not entirely removed, but it's damn close. Plenty of small tweaks were made to movement techniques to make it feel less slow and clunky as well. The ground gargoyle has a charge, which in the original game takes forever to wind up, and feels like the game slows to a crawl whenever you execute it. It also barely moves you forward, so outside of its contextual uses, it's pretty shit. The mod removes a lot of the wind up and turns it into a far more fluid motion that goes until you hit something or you let go of the button. It feels like a dream to slickly glide across the floor at speeds I never thought possible, and the lowered buffer to start the charge made it much more useful in combat to where I could time tight windows to slide under certain jumpy bosses. The aerial and underwater gargoyles have had similar tweaks and they do feel far better, but have nothing on the changes to the ground gargoyle. Talismans are collectibles and having them active grants differing boons. Imp added the ability to switch between talismans outside the menu with the L and R buttons. Potions were also simplified, and if you use a specific type of vial and happen to have another of the same kind, the game will automatically equip that once the first is empty, removing even more menu interactions. I'm pretty sure the same goes for magics, but I never use magic because blasting is way more fun. One of the biggest issues with Demon's Crest is the constant need to access the menu to switch between gargoyles, items, spells, and talismans. Needless to say, the person behind this ROM hack fundamentally understands what's holding the game back and has actively mended some of it. Terrain also deals far more damage now, so careless movement is punished, where it was originally a light tap on the wrist. This does make some maps infuriating, particularly the underwater ones with their iffy hitboxes, but it certainly makes you play more carefully, as before, you could just kind of run into spikes and it didn't really matter. One small issue I had is that the mod cuts boss refights. There's only a handful, but I thought they were okay. They're a nice metric to gauge your newfound powers against familiar foes and barely last a minute or two. I don't know, it seems unnecessary to me, but I get that they were likely trying to eliminate redundancies, and while a non-issue for most, repeated bosses are certainly redundant. Overall, a fantastic mod and absolutely worth a play, as Demon's Crest is like an hour long, maybe 2 if you're going for 100%. No, Tenkaichi 4 isn't real, but it looks convincing enough, a few rough edges here and there, but a genuinely fantastic attempt nonetheless. What I love about this ROM hack is that it lets me pretend I'm Dragon Ball Super, which I don't even really like, but I can do it, and that's cool. I played it on a real PS2 as well, and it worked flawlessly outside of some mild texture issues. It's designed for a widescreen experience, which is impressive, as to my knowledge, Tenkaichi 3 on the PS2 didn't have widescreen compatibility. By scaling all the assets in a more narrow view, when stretched, they look like they're supposed to. It seems like the camera has also been pinched to thin things out, enabling them to look normal when stretched, kinda like how old games designed for CRTs did back in the day. I appreciate that level of commitment, but it does suck a bit for people who play on actual hardware and have all these anorexic Gokus waddling around. Anyway, the game's pretty tight, everything feels like Tenkaichi 3, and while some of the newer characters are a bit overpowered or have slightly awkward controls or implementations, it's a legitimately fantastic hack. You can see the parts of the third game they've changed, it's not a wholly new game, but what they've done with it is amazing. If Raging Blast and Xenoverse let you down just a little, then Tenkaichi 4 will fill that gaping Dragon Ball size hole. I know it filled mine. Wait, what? This ROM hack claims to be the most Ultima edition of any game ever. And you know what? It's probably right. First off, run button. Thank you. The user interface has been reworked and everything is hyper-specific now. The equip menu shows the most minute stats of every single weapon and armor in the game, down to the accuracy rates and whether or not it's magnetic. Magic is much the same, with detailed breakdowns of every spell, who they target, their damage, secondary effects, and it's all conveyed with neat little icons. Inventory management was a huge issue in the base game, and while it's similar here, a few things were done to clean it up a bit. Primarily, key items have their own section removed from the usable inventory. The sort and bin buttons were merged into one, and you can access the Fat Chocobo, which is the game's item bank, at any time from the menu. Since Ultima is an expansion of the base game, there's significantly more things to collect. Items, equipment, you name it, and the drop rates are huge, so despite the inventory fixes, it still gets clogged pretty fast. That said, because of all the new trinkets, you'll be spending more time sifting through your inventory and trying on the deluge of gear, so while it is annoying, it kind of fits in well with how these tweaks were implemented. The equipment variance changes gameplay quite a bit. There's additional bosses throughout the story-critical path that keep you on your toes, and a fair whack of side content. Spatterings of amazing loot are dropped by regular foes. Some items I got early to mid-game were still outperforming endgame equipment. This makes sense, as enemies needed a bit more of a justification outside of solely leveling your party, as money is plentiful due to the drop rate increase, and you can also disable encounters entirely. It's nice if you're running to a boss, but there are save points everywhere, because there are new bosses everywhere as well. If you're as invested in Final Fantasy IV as I am, which is to say, probably more than you should be, this is a must-play ROM hack. Originally a popular Japanese hack, T-Edition recently got an English patch. If you can figure out the version differences, as there are quite a few and a couple break the English translation, then you should play it. There are simply too many changes to talk about, but it includes everything from side quests you can pick up from the various bars around the world, to bosses and enemy changes, new items and equipment, and even character costumes. In version 2.9.7, the costume swap correlates to classes, which have differing purposes and stat distributions, but in later releases they're purely cosmetic. I'm personally a fan of having stats tied to costumes, but I guess the creator's not. Luckily I can stick with the old version. There's legitimately so much shit in this game, they had to release a second ROM that served as an endgame super boss gauntlet after you finished with all the events in the core game. The UI was reworked and simplified with a tidier battle font and a better layout for magics, removing the tedious pointless scrolling through empty slots found in the vanilla title. I played this one for funsies quite recently and just wanted a couple scattered bits of footage for the video, but it sucked me in so hard I ended up replaying the entire thing. If that's not an endorsement, I don't know what is. I've seen a lot of ROM hacks in my day, particularly for Final Fantasy VI, there's Brave New World and others, but this might be the best. It's so feature heavy and doesn't corrupt the core story in any way, it just adds more shit to do around it. It shouldn't be your first experience, but if you're familiar with Final Fantasy VI, it should at least be your second. Suikoden! I love it, if you have good taste you love it, and they're re-releasing it soon. One major issue that always plagued the first two titles was the difficulty. Outside of a few bosses, it's not mentally engaging, and most encounters are forgettable fodder. Suikoden Hard Mode isn't one of those stupidly difficult games. It doesn't require master knowledge just to get by, but it does require some level of problem solving. It gives a little bump in stats to all enemies, enough to give veterans a bit of a challenge and a lot of opportunity to explore new strategies. Certain allowances were made to make the earlier game a little more forgiving to help get the ball rolling, such as starter fellas getting a bit of a stat boost so you're not head planting your way through a brick wall maze. Though if you get a little liberal in your exploration, you will get flattened. While the core focus is making the game harder, there were additions to make it easier as well, with the use count of healing items being increased. This was a good faith effort in showing the attempt to be a balanced experience and not one of those horrible games you play because you hate yourself. Honestly, there's not much to say about it. It effectively removes auto battle doing 90% of the work, and that's fine by me. Vanilla or hard mode, Suikoden is a great play in every form, but if you're allergic to mashing X or pressing auto battle, this hack is for you. Tactics Ogre is a series I love deep. I've always found that Knight of Lodis, the Game Boy Advance iteration, as flawed as it is far more comfy than Let Us Cling Together, so I replay it more frequently. It's also quite short and far easier to consume than its contemporaries. While a comfy game, it's not without flaw. For starters, it's too easy, too many setups are easily abused, such as using ninjas or spamming MP recovery followed by summons with their massive range and huge waves of damage. In the ROM hack, not only are magic items way more expensive to alleviate some of that, but summons have received a bit of a nerf, only having a range of 3 panels instead of 5, which is a game changer. This effectively forces a summoner to be within range of a physical attacker to even pop off a cast, and makes singling out enemies way tougher. And while ninjas are no longer OP, the creator didn't remove snapdragons, so you can still steamroll the game at the cost of one angel or giant. Obviously, the change list doesn't stop there, the game's quite a bit harder and punishes careless moves. The remake of Let Us Cling Together with its Chariot Tarot allowing me to undo turns certainly softened my brain as the Lancelot mod kicked my ass. At least at first, the mid to late game becomes quite a bit easier, though still noticeably more difficult than vanilla. I'd say it teeters on the slightly too difficult side at times, as the hit rate seems lower overall and story battles now scale in level to your party, but it also encourages you to get behind enemies more for those near guaranteed slaps to the bum, or to increase agility for a better chance of a strike connecting. Enemies and classes have had a bunch of tweaks to the point where I'm using dragons outside of novelty for the first time ever. Usually they weren't mobile enough for me, but even without a dragon tamer, these bastards are killers. The same goes for octopodes, giants, mermaids, really every monster class is usable now. Due to the difficulty, I felt more of a need to vary up my roster depending on the map style, where water-heavy terrain would see my octopus or mermaid going ham, and a drier one saw a Cerberus or a dragon rip up the landscape. Generally, when I play vanilla, I pick 4 or 5 blokes and use nothing but them for the whole game, despite the party capacity being 8. The tweaks to the usual roster fillers saw me actually switching between reserves outside of the split maps that require it. From what I can tell, the story's the same. The changelog only mentions one line of dialogue, which was likely mistranslated anyway, so you'll find no fanfic translations here, only gameplay. Overall, one of my favourite ROM hacks, just straight up makes a comfy game slightly less comfy, because now I have to actually think about what I'm doing instead of barging through mindlessly. And that's it for now, gamers. If anything piqued your interest, give it a crack and let me know how you went. Opinions on ROM hacks are always so varied, and the discourse is hard to find, since it's a niche within a niche, so to speak, so I'm always interested in what people thought of them. Please let me know in the comments. This is not comment baiting, though that is going to be a nice side effect. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Sooner than you realise.